everybody. Welcome to the Blind Spot Project. And this is the show where we like to talk about a movie we haven't seen before that's a classic in some way or another. And this month we're laughing, I guess. We're having a laugh. We're talking about Monty Python and the Meaning of Life. I figured that with November that people would want with the election and everything, people would want to laugh. That's why I scheduled this in November. I love I love Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and of course I've seen that a number of times, but I had never seen this one, and I'll explain why I avoided it. So I'm excited to talk about it, and I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Manda's here.
Hi, good to be back.
How are ya?
I'm good. I'm good. I was kind of nervous watching this because for me, like comedy's so personal. So I
Yeah,
didn't want to let anyone down after
right.
watching Monty Python because everyone like that I know loves them. So it's just gonna be interesting
Yeah. Well,
today.
and well, and podcasts are hard to do on comedies because at a certain point, you just either laugh or you don't laugh. Like, what analysis do you really have? Like, there's some,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't be surprised if this is on the short side of the episodes because I don't know, I just think they're kind of hard to talk about
hmm
than the dramas or the other kinds. But so this was your first time watching anything Monty Python.
Yeah, it's my entry into Monty Python. It was interesting. I
Yeah.
have to admit, I kind of like that it was like sketches assembled. There was like I think believe six parts to it. There's six parts,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was impressed with it.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not my type of humor. I
Okay.
tried. I think the songs were hilarious throughout. I think the
Oh,
lyrics to the songs made me chuckle a bit, but I was just
uh-huh.
more amazed of like what are they doing? Like, are they actually doing this? And they are. So I
The
can
other
commend them for
two
that.
the well, particularly Holy Grail, it's not like it has like a huge plot, but there is more of a plot to Holy
Mm,
Grail. It's like a specific parody of like King Arthur type of lore and legends. So there is like a very thin kind of plot going on with King Arthur and stuff like that. So
yeah.
and this is I think the weakest thing that I've seen from this group from this
Oh,
yeah. So but part of the reason why I had put this off of seeing this one is because I knew about the vomit joke. And woo,
yeah.
it
That was
is
not a fun one.
they go for it. Oh my
They do.
gosh. I mean, it is
It's a lot.
wow.
Yeah. And that's again, like you don't see anyone push those boundaries anymore. So
Yeah.
again, like I can commend them for like even attempting that. It's ambitious because not everyone's gonna
Yeah.
take well to it. So
Because I think for that kind of gross out humor, it's got to be an all timer.
oh, definitely. It's what it reminded me of the
Whoa.
scene in Triangle of Sadness, on the boat when everyone starts like vomiting all over the
Yeah,
place. So I was like, oh, okay, that's probably where Ruber Osland was like, oh, someone else
probably.
did this, I can do it
He
too.
probably
So
did.
yeah.
Well, so Monty Python, it is a group of six comedians: Graham Chapman, John Cleese, Terry Gilliam, Eric Idle, Terry Jones, and Michael Palin.
Mm,
And Jones and Palin met at Oxford, and Chapman, Cleese, and Idle met at Cambridge. And
wow.
then John Cleese met Gilliam, and that's how
Mm,
he kind of got into the group. And Terry Gilliam was the animator of the group, and
nice.
yeah, and so most of the animation from the show in the early, like there's the not motto, uh their trademark, their thing is a giant foot. That was all like animated by Terry Gilliam. He was like the anime, and in the original, so they had this show, Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Okay.
Yeah, and it had I think 4 seasons, and
Wow.
they did Holy Grail in between the third and fourth seasons,
Okay.
and
That
so
makes sense.
yeah, that was like peak Monty Python.
So is this one of like their later works? Like it's
Yes.
later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember I sent you that Four Yorkshiremen skit. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah. So
yes.
that was early Python, Monty Python.
That's like earlier.
Early. Yeah. One of their
So
first.
funny.
That's one of my favorites. The Flying Circus show went from 1969 to 1974. And then they had The Holy Grail in 75. They had
Wow.
Life of Brian, which I also have never seen. It's all about Jesus. And it's like, I think it might just be too sacrilege for me. But it's 1979
Okay.
is when that came out. And then they have Live at the Hollywood Bowl, 1982. And then 83 is this was their last film that they did, The Meaning of
Wow.
Life. So,
Wow.
mhm.
Interesting that I started with the last one. Now
Yeah.
I have to go back and
Yeah.
watch. You know what I mean? Now I have to do it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Um,
awesome.
that it said here that when they were putting together the Flying Circuses, Jones remembered an animation Gilliam had created for Do Not Adjust Your Set called Beware of the Elephants, which had intrigued him with a stream of conscious style. Jones felt it would be a good concept to apply to the series, allowing sketches to blend into one another. So it wasn't like the worry about, it all connecting or being any kind of narrative. And says their approach to writing was democratic. If the majority found an idea humorous, it was included in the show. Which I thought that was
Wow.
interesting. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, and
it
these
makes
guys are
sense.
all like legends. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't believe that it took me this long to watch it because I know the only reason why I know John Cleese is because he's in Shrek. Like that's really
Oh,
sad that
really?
I just know that he's in Shrek. So I saw him in the movie and I'm like, "Oh my God, he's actually so funny." And he was like one of the
Yeah.
best ones out of all of them. Like I really enjoyed watching him. It was hysterical. He
He's
was really
probably the
good.
most famous of the Python guys, I would say, John Cleese.
Yeah, yeah. I think
He was in a
could he
fish
have
called
done
Wanda.
Yes. Yeah. And I think he did a lot of stage work too.
Mm,
Like I
I
feel
believe
like
that.
he was on Broadway or off Broadway at least, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, he was really good. There's some, I think it's because it's like sketches, some hit and obviously some didn't.
Yes,
So
I'd
then
agree.
to judge it as a whole, it's kind of difficult. So
Hmm.
like watching an
Yeah.
episode of
So
SNL at that point.
yeah. But he was also in the Harry Potter movies.
That's right. Oh my
He
goodness.
was one of the ghosts.
Yes, he was nearly headless Nick. I'm pretty sure
Yes.
it was him. Yeah. Because I saw his face. I'm like, wait a minute. I
Yeah.
know you. I was like, I know you.
Are you a fan of Rachel's reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a patron. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies. I guess we'll just start out. My favorite section there's a bunch of different sections. My favorite section was the war section. I thought that was the funniest bit of the movie when you got the captain and everybody's trying to give him like presents. And he's like,
Yes.
we're so glad, we're so glad you're our captain. And these goodbye gifts and everything. And they're like, he's like, take cover.
It was
Here's
so
another
funny.
present. He's like, no. That was funny. I liked
That was
that.
really good. I kind of liked what was it? There was he was a teacher in a classroom and then he was demonstrating
Yeah.
how
That
to
was
have
John
like
Cleese.
yeah, he was like having like how to have intercourse in front of everyone. I'm like, y'all are really going there, but it was just so funny
It
because
was a little, I think it lasted a little too long. It kind of like
yeah,
wore out the joke after a bit, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
it was interesting. I was like, oh God. And I also felt like I think the birth scene with the
Hmm.
doctors, I was dying. Like that was one of my favorites because like they were just so nonchalant. And then also the camera work, like the direction was really cool. Like they tried different things with the framing, and I liked that a lot that they were playing around with different angles because, you know, birth is
Yeah.
just crazy. So they experimented, which I really
Yeah.
appreciated. Good.
And they sort of have this mild like plot of sort of the meaning of life and starting with birth and going through to death and everything like that. But
Mm,
it's not very much. It's pretty much just randomness.
yeah.
They said that at the time of its release, the Pythons confessed their aim was to offend absolutely everyone, adding it's a guarantee to offend, which is
They succeeded. I
accurate.
think they did. They did. Because they, like, even towards the end, they're like, okay, what's the meaning of life? And then he just like threw the paper away. I was like, okay, cool. There was no care into this whatsoever. I feel like they had all of these sketches and they're like, well, guys, if we're gonna actually retire from doing this, let's just do like one last
Yeah.
big one
Yeah.
and throw everything together. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. I also, again, in that war section, that scene where you've got the general, the drill sergeant, he's like, what would you rather be doing than being here for this? And the one's like, I would rather be sitting at home knitting or whatever. Like, I can't remember. He's like, well, you better go do that. Who's up next? I would rather.
It was fun. That was a really good
That was a
section.
funny one
It was
too.
really
And
good.
then they end with the Zulu War, which was just bizarre. But like they have these two guys dressed up as tigers, and they're like,
I died. I was dying. It's like,
"Why
why
did
are
you eat
you?
these men? Because we're tigers." No. Just the fact that they had to,
And
and
they
they
just
were
like
like,
unzip.
it was like the most like it looked
Oh,
like a high school mascot or something. The
yeah.
tiger outfit.
I was dying. I was like, they unzipped it. They're like, yeah, we're tigers. Like, okay, sure,
that
believable.
that was really funny to me.
I think because they play it deadpan, it just makes it so much better to laugh at. It's just like you have to believe what they're saying. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. My favorite part in Holy Grail, you'll see when you watch it, is that there's this knight who challenges Arthur. And he basically just proceeds to get all of his limbs like chopped off. And he's like, What are you? What are you, a weakling? You coward? He's like, You have no arms.
That is
It's
funny.
ridiculous. And they're just so funny.
I also think because it's like British humor, it's so
Yeah.
dry on top of it that we're not used to it. That's why it's like shocking sometimes too. That's
Well, and
funny.
there's just so little that like makes me like really laugh. I felt like, and this
Yeah.
I mean, there's many reasons why I was not that happy with the election results, but like into the column of not happy is that everybody forgot how to be funny with Trump. Like, in my opinion, like it was just like there was just
True.
no
No,
like
you're
all the
right.
comedians, like every SNL was terrible. I hated Alec Baldwin's Trump. It was so bad,
Mm,
and uh, and
yeah.
and so it was just like, and I can't think of like a Hollywood movie that has like had me rolling laughing.
Out of the past decade, yeah, probably not. Because for me, the 2010s were really like you had The Hangover, you had Horrible Bosses, you had 21 Jump Street, like you had like those comedies there, or else, and like this decade doesn't really have anything that I was
Yeah, I
like
mean, the last thing
dying
that
of
I can think
laughter.
of that I was like truly in stitches for that's not like a rom-com kind of comedy or something, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Mm,
Would be Game Night. That's the last movie I can think of that I was like really
yes.
laughing.
That's one of my favorites too. I
Oh,
really like Game Night. I watched it recently. I showed it to my little cousins. I said, "You guys want to watch this?" They're like, "Yeah, cool." And they were like so hooked and they loved it so much. And I was like, "Yes, this succeeded."
yeah. It's
Showing you
really
different stuff.
funny.
Yeah.
And and I don't know, there's just hasn't been very much good humor in the last like so
It's
you
hard.
gotta go back to like the when they weren't as afraid to like offend people, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think also studios are just scared to actually produce a comedy and put it
Hmm.
in theaters because they're like, we're not going to get a return on this. And it's like, well, guys aren't trying to even do that. And now they're dumping it on streaming. And then it's like the script for that, for those comedies on streaming, they're not even strong enough because you don't
Yeah.
get a laugh. Like it's just, I would have to say, like, for the past year, I think Hitman was a pretty good
Mm.
action comedy. I think Glenn Powell really sells it, and like it was funny up to a certain degree. I wouldn't like full out say it's a comedy, but that's one of the most recent ones where I was like, yeah, you
Yeah,
know what? I
just
haven't laughed this hard in a while. So
yeah, I was just
yeah,
looking over my letterboxed
let
for
me
this
do
year.
that
Like I
too.
would count that as more sort of like the rom-com-ish kind of,
That's fair.
you
Yeah,
know.
I agree with that.
But
What else is here?
yeah, I mean, Hundreds of Beavers, that's when I would count.
Still have to
That was
see it.
very funny. It's very absurd, very silly. So I might count that, I guess. But
Yeah,
like live
definitely do.
action,
No, I have nothing here.
it's pretty rough.
It's slim
It's
pickings over
sad.
here, guys. Like,
It's
come
just
on.
sad. I American Fiction, that was actually pretty funny last year. Kind of a
Yeah.
dark comedy, but
What
it's
else do
really
we have?
hard to make people laugh.
It is. I
It's
think
really
even
hard.
well, No Hard Feelings was also rom-commy, so I
Mm,
can't. I think there's only romantic comedies. There hasn't been like a straight up like comedy at
yeah.
all that has been released. It's always crossing genres because I think they're just too scared to just drop a
Yeah.
comedy.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like somebody, what was, when did Logan Lucky come out? That was pretty funny.
I think
2017. So
that's
that was before
yeah,
game night.
2010s,
So
yeah.
something like that, that's just like openly silly and just trying to make you laugh.
Yeah.
Is in its whole goal. I mean, I guess Deadpool.
Yeah.
Deadpool's pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Thank
Deadpool's pretty
God
funny.
for Deadpool and Wolverine. I didn't think I would say that, but yeah, thank God for Deadpool and Wolverine at this point. Because yeah, that's the only comedy as of this year that I'm like, it exists and it's pretty funny. There's nothing
Hmm.
else that I can say that made me howl like that too.
Yeah.
You know?
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
So the movie does start out with a supporting sketch, the Crimson Permanent Assurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think this was like well filmed, well done, but it wasn't that funny to me. Like just seeing old men beat people up, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was just like the excessiveness of someone getting fired in
Yeah.
corporate. So I was like, oh,
And
okay,
then they
cool.
lost it, the old
And they
men.
completely lost it because like they're old men and they're
Yeah.
like, well, I have nothing else to do with my life. And they're just going to take it out on everybody and project their anger, which makes complete sense. So
Yeah.
I get that one. That was it was a spot on. I get
Yeah.
it. It's just not funny.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
thought that I did think that the live organ transplant was pretty funny.
I lost my mind with it. I was like, what are you
Was
doing?
the middle of this is definitely the best part.
Yeah.
The best. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And the live organ, well, they there was when they're talking to the wife and it was like, well, as long as you're being selfish.
It's so good. I need more like doctor-patient interactions like that. It's just so funny. It's like the doctor just being straight up blunt and calling them out is hilarious. It's so funny.
Yeah, she gives in after the man steps out of the refrigerator and is like, "Well, really, there is no significance to your presence in the universe. So what are you waiting for? Your life might actually matter." Then there's this whole galaxy song, which was pretty funny, and I mean,
The
I
songs.
that did make me laugh. That what? Of course, you have to agree to donate your liver live.
Actually, the one song that made me like I couldn't believe it was the what's it called? They had the 500 children in one room,
Oh
and
yeah,
it was the sperm song that made me
every sperm
die.
is sacred.
Oh my God. I was like, this is genius. It's so funny.
And so then we have this whole gag with the throw up. And like I said, they go for it. This man just is a glutton. He keeps eating, throwing up, throwing up.
Yeah.
And even talking about it, I get a little like I have a
It was
very,
gross.
very weak gag reflex. Like it goes
It's
off
okay.
extremely easily. It's okay.
I get it. Believe me.
I'm like, I could close my eyes. Like, that's the thing. I absolutely love Pitch Perfect. It's one of my all-time faves. But the throwing up scenes are a lot for me.
It's too much. Even Bridesmaids was like, I can't watch it.
I
No.
can't.
No.
Like, that's my one knock against the movie. It probably takes it from being like a 9.5 to a 10. I mean, a 10 to a 9.5.
Yeah.
Because I hate that scene when she's throwing up.
It's so
So yeah, that's not for me. But Tarantino said that the throw up gags, the only time I have ever had to look away in a film because I couldn't bear to watch was The Meaning of Life when that guy keeps being sick. I felt really nauseous. It was just too much. I was looking around and I thought, if anyone here is sick and I have to smell vomit, I'm going to hurl. It just about held onto my lunch in the end, but I still can't think about that scene without retching.
I mean, I get it. It's one of those
Yeah.
movies that stays with you for that one scene. So yeah.
Yeah, like it is incredibly memorable though. I mean, even though I hated it, I got to give him credit for just going for it.
Yeah.
And it
Same.
is very, very memorable. I thought like it was a little bit funny with the death, the last section where you have the condemned man choosing the manner of his own execution, and his choice is to get chased off a cliff by these beautiful topless women. That was
I saw that was funny. I like that one too. I was like, good for you, buddy.
Yeah. That was pretty funny. And he falls into his grave and they bury him. And then it ends with this whole song, Christmas in Heaven. But it's always
cute.
Christmas in Heaven.
That was cute. I liked
I
that
like
way.
that.
I like the way it ended.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. So there we go. That is Monty Python and Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. Very silly. I would especially for that middle section, I would recommend it. But
Yeah.
but it's a bit uneven, I would say. It's this one.
Yeah. Just a tad.
I think it's fair. So let us know what you think. What's your favorite Monty Python skit or film? We'd love to hear in the comments section. I'll be writing up my whole piece on this. Definitely want to check that out. And Manda, where can people find you?
Yeah, you guys can always follow me over at AMX ND Reviews on Twitter and Letterboxd and Blue Sky and Threads. I'm all there. You can check out my website, candidxcinema.com. I have my Gladiator 2 review up right now.
Oh, yeah. I see that next week, so that'll be fun.
Oh,
yeah.
Please let me know how it is.
Well, you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that so much. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group, which is the biggest way you can support everything we do. And we have some really cool watch alongs and other things. And we have our merch store. We have some new holiday inspired designs from Home Alone. We've got Die Hard. We've got Christmas Story. It's a Wonderful Life, all that. So check it out. And maybe we should make a It's Always Christmas in Heaven shirt.
That would be so cute.
Yeah, that would be good. To do that. But check it out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.